Biggest takeaways from the final day of San Francisco 49ers training camp. It has come and it has gone. And we are getting ready to sail into the dreaded dead period. But before we do that, we got stuff to talk about. We got 49ers on the field, and we're going to discuss the biggest takeaways from the final day of 49ers minicamp. Get ready, get locked in, smash that like button, drop an SDS in the chat. You already know the vibes. Let's cook. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. Big shout out to the SDS and the gang. We see y'all loading in the chat. What is going down, squad? What's good, Mark? What's good, everybody? Shout out to the light in the Joe Montana photo. It's here, it's ready, and it's ready to go. Just for you, Bubbly. Tia's ready. Shout out the whole squad. Good to see the gang. What should we talk about today? What should we talk? Oh, that's right. We got minicamp. Final day of minicamp. Tia says, thanks for the reminder. What's good, SDS? We got the gang in the building. Oh, we got the OG sourdough squad. My island boy in the building. Good to see. We got a lot of OGs in the building. Good to see all the squad here, ready to go. Let's talk some 49ers football, shall we? It's time, I think, to get into it. Oh, we got Aloha Smitty in the chat. Let's go. We got the gang vibing. So what's good, everybody? Excited to talk some 49ers football with you because, again, like I mentioned on the intro, we're getting ready to embark upon the long and dreaded dead period. Oh, we got OGs checking in. What's good, Dylan? So this was the last practice. So the 49ers, I think they made a decent adjustment to the schedule overall. I believe it was originally scheduled that this mini camp was going to be happening on the 15th through the 18th, but clearly they bumped it up and they canceled the last week of OTAs. They canceled the last week of OTAs. Sounds like they bumped up minicamp. And so we won't see the San Francisco 49ers on the field again until the end of July at the start of minicamp. I don't care. I'm excited, man. This just means we're one day closer to training camp. One day closer for me being able to watch these guys for myself. But until then, we're going to talk about what came out of training camp today. This is a good spot to start. If you have been reluctant to hop on the Brandon Ayuk hype train, you know here we've been on the Brandon Ayuk hype train pretty much from the jump. And, I'm not ashamed to say that when the 49ers drafted Brandon Ayuk, as someone who loves the draft and draft evaluation, I've told the story before, but that class, remember the class that he came out in? I think it was considered the 2020 NFL draft class, or no? Was that the 2020 NFL draft class? Tons of wide receivers in that class. CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Justin Jefferson, at the time, Jalen Reagor. You had Mims. I mean, you've DK Metcalf. The amount of wide receivers that came out of that draft class was insane. It's going to go down as one of the most stacked wide receiver draft classes we've had in a while. But with all those wide receivers, my guys in that class were Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb. Those were my guys. I never got around to Brandon Ayuk. I never got around to him. Never got to watch the tape. Never even had an opinion on him. So when the San Francisco 49ers drafted him, because if you remember, the CD Lamb Hive was absolutely buzzing because that's who I wanted. I never got around to Brandon Ayuk, so I had to reverse watch Brandon Ayuk after we drafted him, and you could see right away that the talent that he possessed as a route runner, unconventional route runner, all those different types of things. Like you could see the raw talent that Brandon Ayuk possessed early on, and what we've been able to see since that point is the maturation process. We got to hear from Brandon Ayuk in OTAs. It was abundantly clear that the energy and the vibe of Brandon just feels like it's on a different level. It feels like Ayuk is you know, I think George Kittle talked about this yesterday. George Kittle talked about it with Trey Lance. It's like when guys are confident in their ability, in their positioning, in where they're at in their career, it comes across. You can see it when they're confident. That's what we were talking about with Brandon Ayuk when we heard from him. We saw the confidence. We saw DK was in Debo's class, you're right. We saw the confidence in Brandon Ayuk oozing out of him, and we're like, oh, remember that was where we got the comment, oh, he's about to take off, all that type of stuff. Well, Diamador Lenore, third year cornerback. Dude, time is flying. I can't believe Diamador Lenore is heading into his third season already. What the heck, man? Well, anyways, Diamador Lenore is heading into his third season. He's taken ownership of the starting cornerback position across from Charvarius Ward. And he was asked today, I think it was by Jennifer Lee Chan of NBC Sports, who has been the toughest wide receiver to guard in I want to call it training camp, in minicamp so far. And I'll pull it up and we can look and listen to Demo's response that he gave without hesitation. The Brandon Ayuk hive is buzzing. And this is what he had to say.
The toughest receiver to cover so far?
The toughest receiver, Brandon Ayuk. We've been having our battle since college. So,
yep.
He's been he's going to be a top 5 receiver in this league this year. He's going to put everybody on notice. I feel like he's been so underrated. He really don't get the credit that he deserves.
Top 5? The toughest receiver to cover so far?
Oh, yeah. He didn't stutter. Diamador said top 5. And we talk about BA's talent all the time. He has that type of talent. He has that ceiling. He just happens to be on a offense that doesn't really feature Brandon Ayuk. I think we can all understand that Brandon Ayuk is used just as much as a decoy in this offense as much as he's featured. He obviously broke 1,000 yards receiving last year, which is the most production he's put up in his entire career. But you guys are with me every week when we do the film breakdowns. Brandon Ayuk is a deep threat decoy. They use him on clear out routes all the time, and it's been an adjustment period for him, I think, in this entire process to, one, understand that he's got a block, and two, he's going to be used as a decoy and not necessarily featured. Well, maybe that changes this year. Debo Samuel talked about it yesterday, right? Debo said that he sat down with Kyle Shanahan. They went over the film, and the whole point of going over the film, which Kyle talks about all the time, he always talks about the film and the film speaking for itself. We've watched the film. You could see that Debo Samuel wasn't the Debo Samuel we've come to appreciate, at least that got him paid, at least last year. We were even talking about Debo Samuel in the NFC Championship game. Like, he had a play where if he gets a block, CMC probably goes 90 yards for a touchdown, and again changes the entire complexion of that game if he just sold out at minimum like 50% effort to try to block someone. CMC would have read it. He would have bounced it. CMC would have been gone. It was the last guy. Debo didn't really give any type of effort. And I really feel like that particular play of Debo in the biggest game of the year kind of exemplified, and it was like a microcosm of Debo Samuel's year on the whole. He had some good, he still produced, he still had some phenomenal plays, but it just wasn't that same Debo. Wasn't that same backpack Debo. Put the team on my back. I got us. We're out of here. It was a different mentality, and he spoke to it. He talked about it yesterday, saying, hey, the a lot of distractions last year, a lot of distractions, the trade, all that type of stuff. But it sounds like Debo's back on track. But Ayuk is on track. Ayuk, I think, again, last year was the stepping off point for Ayuk. Last year was like, I got my feet wet, fully confident, put together his first full season, because if you remember 2021, started off in the doghouse, had to get himself out the doghouse. Then he started to ascend at the end of the year. Last year was his first full year from training camp to the end of the year where he was balling out. This year, the Brandon Ayuk that we are going to get is going to be prime Brandon Ayuk. If you're a fantasy player, we'll give out unsolicited fantasy advice on this channel. If you play fantasy football, if you can get Brandon Ayuk as your wide receiver 3, if you can do that, you might be winning your league. If you can get BA as your wide receiver 3, you might be winning your league, because I think Brandon Ayuk has the potential to be a 1,400-yard all-purpose type wide receiver, and we're going to see what we get. And obviously depends a lot on who's throwing them the football, and we've discussed that at length as well. But I'm excited to see what Brandon Ayuk does this year. I think it's going to be a phenomenal season for him. Speaking of Deommodore Lenoir, low-key fire quotes today. He was asked about Steve Wilks, and he said that Steve Wilks is like the godfather of defensive backs. The most important thing that I think Deommodore Lenoir said about Steve Wilks, 49ers' new defensive coordinator, was that he can point out the mistakes that are being made without tearing down the player. He's able to point out the mistakes while building up the player. And that is huge. I talk about that all the time on this channel. I call that emotional intelligence. It's funny. The defensive coordinators that we seem to have, whether it's D'Amico Ryans, now it sounds like Steve Wilks, I'm talking about elite emotional intelligence. Being able to connect with players, understand it on their level, and coach it at a level where they're going to be able to grasp it, understand it, put it into action without tearing down their confidence. So obviously, that is one thing that I talk about on the opposite spectrum with Kyle Shanahan. But I do think Kyle Shanahan understands that. He's able to, again, he brings in phenomenal coaches who I would say are elite when it comes to emotional intelligence. Maybe, and I wouldn't say that that's a hit on Shanahan. Like, I think Shanahan has the emotional intelligence to be able to understand where he's lacking in some of those areas, be able to inject those types of people around his staff. That takes emotional intelligence in of itself. I just think, he has a hard time, when those quarterbacks aren't executing his play to the way he wanted to. Yeah, he might tear you down a little bit. He's got that old school vibe where, hey man, I'm not going to give you any compliments, but if you screw this up, I'm chewing you 3 new ones. That's that's my read on Kyle Shanahan. But again, that's from the outside looking in. But I do like it. Angelina Martin for NBC Sports. She put this tweet out about Steve Wilks. The question was, how will 49ers DC Steve Wilks spend his upcoming break from football? smoking cigars in North Carolina mountains and watching film. Dog. Uh, love it, man. I love it. Also, shout out to Angie for the dog comment there at the end. Goated. But Steve just feels like a perfect fit, man. He feels like a perfect fit for what D'Amico did, sliding into that role, being a like key figurehead, leadership. I mean, and again, what Demo's talking about is he's saying that he's like the godfather of DBs because he's a defensive back specialist and he's able to put his fingerprints all over the secondary because that's where he specializes in. And when your DC has that type of mentality, like my specialty if I were to coach would be O-line. I would be O-line centric. That's just where I would gravitate towards because it's what I know best. So with Steve Wilks, he knows DBs best. And obviously, he's a good defensive coordinator as a whole, but that really is going to help these defensive backs, I think, especially the young guys who need to grow. And I'm really looking forward to it. I love the vibes off the field. Shout out to John Lynch for that one. Oh, I need the sounder. All right, we gotta figure out. I got a little like soundboard thing. I gotta figure out how to get the breaking news sounder. So I'm just gonna do it vocally right now. Dun-na-na, dun-na-na, even though it's Sports Center top 10. Dun-na-na, dun-na-na, doo-doo-doo. We have a kicker update, breaking news here on Channel 49. We have some incoming news about the San Francisco 49ers kicking battle. It does appear that Jake Moody has got a boot. Jake Moody, from all reports coming out of Minicamp, this one particularly from Jennifer Lee Chan, says that Jake Moody booted approximately a 60-yard field goal right through the uprights. Also, additional reports saying it could have been as long as a 63-yard field goal from the rookie kicker who was drafted in the 3rd round. That's a pretty good update. Again, we were talking about the kicker updates yesterday. Wasn't leaning in favor of Jake Moody, but today, apparently, Jake Moody's banging 63-yard field goals, and I like that. I want that. Those are the kind of updates that we're looking for. So shout out to Jake Moody. Apparently got a leg on him and has the ability to make very long field goals. So that's a good sign because the San Francisco. No, shout out to Robbie Gould. He's been consistent, but we never looked at Gold as like having this big leg on him. If we're banging 63-yard field goals, that's a good sign. I like to hear that. Good stuff there. Good stuff there. We also found out that we have an emergency quarterback on the roster. Very excited about this. I know it might be a little too late, but hey, can we get Trent Williams some emergency quarterback snaps? Not even emergency. What play could we like line up Trent as like a tailback out of shotgun? Let's call it gun left. Pitch to Trent, halfback pass. Something like that. I don't know. Could you imagine? I want it. I need it. I need Trent Williams to score a touchdown before it's all said and done. I need this guy to get a touchdown so I can go for personal reasons. No other reasons other than just selfish personal reasons is why I want Trent Williams to get a touchdown. That's it. Just purely selfish. Zero. Oh, spinning wheel of death. Hopefully we're back. Apparently you're having Wi-Fi issues today. But again, really no benefit to it other than me being extremely happy. That's it. That's all the benefit. This is my mental health, and I'll take that over a lot of things right now. Hopefully I'm back and unfrozen. I wonder what face I got stuck in. Probably something not very flattering. Give me a thumbs up if I'm unfrozen in the chat, just so I can have peace of mind that I'm not okay. Thank you. There's a thumbs up. Very good. Very, very good. Okay, we're back. Yeah, McDonald's Wi-Fi making a comeback. Shout out to Mickey D's Wi-Fi. Do you remember how we always joked about McDonald's Wi-Fi back in the day? Because I had probably the worst Wi-Fi out of any of the 49ers content creators by far. And we'd always joke about how I had the McDonald's Wi-Fi. And then the one time when I was moving and I actually had to drive to McDonald's to use their Wi-Fi, and it was better than mine. That was a fun day. So I was like, can we even call my Wi-Fi McDonald's Wi-Fi? Because McDonald's Wi-Fi is better than mine. Oh, good stuff. Anyways, again, Diamador Lenore out here. We got a couple clips from the 49ers. This one was met, I would say, with like your typical amount of I don't know if I want to call them haters, just because I think it's the culture of the internet right now is to point out any possible negative thing you can see in any type of post. So of course, I'm looking at this clip. I see Sam Darnold throw this pass. I see the positioning of Diamador Lenore. Should Diamador Lenore have caught that pass? Of course, we would have loved to see Diamador Lenore come away with that pick. But regardless of that, you're not always going to get the pick. What I do like about that particular clip is the positioning. Look, he ran that route, at least from our perspective, better than Brandon Ayuk. He put himself in position to make the pick, and he got it, or almost got it. So, but it's funny. A lot. You see that little comment right there. All I see is the dropped interceptions. It's like, dang, if that's all you see, that's all you see. I feel bad for you. Apparently, Jameson, so number 49, has been balling. I think that's the DB from the Texas Longhorns, undrafted free agent rookie. He apparently has had a pretty decent minicamp so far. So obviously you can see that pass broken up, almost got his hands on it. The Jameson one is from Brandon Allen. So not bad. You know, these are like the first like actual clips that we've gotten from the 49ers. If I'd be honest, I'd say they're not the best, you know, from all the things that I've heard coming out of training camp. These probably aren't the best clips to show, you know, because of, like I said, the culture of the internet. Because although I can perceive them as positive plays, Diamador Lenore maybe not snagging that becomes the focus of that particular post. Whatever. I don't care anymore. If you don't like it, you can go kick rocks at this particular point. That's my 2 cents on the matter. Let's see. But Demo did respond. Let's see what did Demo say about that. He said I guess he's like a lot of the people in the chat. He said, Can't believe I fumbled. So he thought he had it, almost had it. Wasn't able to bring it in. But hey, 49ers are going to be relying on Demo pretty heavy this year. So we'll see how that all transpires and how everything progresses. Let's see, what are some of the other takeaways from our last practice? Again, no, Nick Bosa is in attendance, but he is not practicing. Nick Bosa is there, looking jacked. This picture should get you excited. Let me get this up, but this to me is going to be the pairing that really changes the complexion of the 49ers defense. This particular tweet was from Nick Wagner. I mean, we're talking Hargrave, we're talking Bosa on the same defensive line, throwing Eric Armstead, throwing a little Drake Jackson. Apparently, Cleveland Furl is had a day today. So Cleveland, again, no pads, no pads. Remember that, no pads, especially when talking about O-line, D-line, no pads. But if this defensive line again can be the difference for putting the 49ers in position to win another Super Bowl. Go back. I'll always bring this parallel back to 2019. I will always bring it back because in 2019, the 49ers offense had not even a fraction of the weapons, not even a fraction of the continuity. It was the 49ers defense and specifically the defensive line that helped the San Francisco 49ers go 13-3 and make a deep run in that playoff. Now, obviously, the 49ers offense had to step up in a couple games. You think of the 49ers offense in that shootout in New Orleans, right? But for the most part, man, it was that D line. It was that D line all started up front with the D line. You had Fred Warner coming into his own. You had Richard Sherman on the outside. You had Kwaski. You had Ward as your safeties. It was either Emmanuel Mosley or Akella Witherspoon on the outside. I mean, you compare that 13-3 team to this roster, I don't think it compares. I really don't. I think this roster that we have seen constructed is like 2 tiers better than kind of like what the 49ers had in 2019, and they still went 13-3. So I think with all the weapons on offense, regardless of who the quarterback is, because I think this will remain the same because Jimmy Garoppolo hadn't played a full season ever in his career, coming off a torn ACL, and really was kind of managing the offense, wasn't really doing a whole lot other than that. And I think you take the weapons that they have. I mean, because when we were talking 2019, the running backs were Breida, they were Coleman. Who else were the running backs? It was Mostert, but Mostert didn't even step up until the end of the year because Mostert was a special teams gunner. So we're at like this team right now is, I would say, like a tier or two above the 2019 roster. The 2019 roster. That's with the current quarterback situation, and that's why the optimism should be high around this team. Positive. You want some positives? You want some positives out of camp? Some of the positives are no injuries. We got no injuries. Everyone rejoice. everyone, and again, nothing's been announced, so I hope it stays that way. But everyone rejoice. No injuries, no nothing. Very happy with that. Didn't hear about any kind of like again, not everyone's gonna be practicing. You're gonna have guys off to the side. Elijah Mitchell's dealing with a little something. But when I'm talking about injuries, I'm saying long. Man, my Wi-Fi sucks today. We didn't get any of those. Knocking on all the wood. Knocking on all the wood. Again, I could deal with Elijah. That's okay. Like I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. That's not serious to me. It's not a serious injury. Not serious. That's what I'm talking about. No freak, nothing. Let's keep it up. Let's keep it up. So again, excited for these two. These two are gonna be fun. Really looking forward to what they bring to the table. Wi-Fi password is definitely Big Mac. I also need a Cat 5 drop, please. Send an electrician right away. Oh, my kids. Their cousins live in Tennessee, so they are both on a video chat right now. That's what it. I'm about to get out here and go kick those kids off. Hey, no video chatting while daddy's streaming. Get off. Proud to report my kids have not played Fortnite in like 7 months. It's been the greatest decision I've ever made as a parent. Do not give your kids access to online games way too soon because they turn into different people. And I loved the game. I gamed my whole life, but I also probably understand too. I'm not that well adjusted of a human being because I played some crazy games growing up. But anyways, oh, absolutely. I said we're done. We're done with this. The kids are just you're walking into the kitchen, they start emoting. I'm like, what's happening here? Like I can't deal with this anymore. They just start like doing the floss all the time. Like, what is happening? Couldn't deal with it. We had to dial it back on the Fortnite. We were seeing the psychological repercussions, and we did an assessment, and we said, you know what? And I feel happy because the assessment came out to be true. They're completely different humans after taking back the Fortnite addiction. All right, what other stuff did we get out of training camp? I will say, you know, I definitely don't agree with a lot of the things that Grant has to say, or some of his takes. But I will say, in kind of sitting back and watching everyone, he like this update from Grant. Trey Lance played with the first team today and completed 8 of 12 passes with a 60-yard touchdown, TD bomb to George Kittle, and a pick to Kerry Hyder Jr. Sam Darnold played with the second team and completed 10 of 14 pass attempts with a 60-yard touchdown bomb to Cameron Law 2 with no picks. I didn't see anyone report on Cameron Law 2 scoring a touchdown today other than Grant. So shout out Grant. good job on reporting what went down. Again, might not agree with every take, most of the takes, maybe all the takes, but that's good. I like that reporting. That gives me a solid enough snapshot on kind of the quarterback situation. He also went on to say Hyder's interception was a phenomenal play. Not sure how he held on to the ball. Great timing and strength. So I like it. I like it. Cameron Latu catching touchdowns. I like that. Kerry Hyder. Apparently, I think I saw Lombardi tweet about it too, saying it was like the play of minicamp so far. I don't know the context of it. I don't know if it's a screen. I don't know if it's a slant. But Kerry Hyder is a defensive end, but he also plays a lot on the interior. And he got apparently a pretty phenomenal pick. I think I even saw something from Angie that said it was like Talanoa was like, make sure you write about that. Because I guess it was a good one. So hopefully we get a video of it. I hope that's what we get. I hope we get a video of it. That would be the best. I'm trying to look to see what other kind of updates in a vacuum that we got from, let's see, who else? But I guess Brandon Allen kind of fell back down. It appeared Brandon Allen had been having a pretty solid camp so far, and apparently is impressing. I don't know if you guys heard did you hear what Greg Papa said? I'll pull it up. Why not? We live in the 21st century today. I can just pull it up and we can listen to it. So this is, again, it's very interesting. I do value Greg Papa's opinion. I've liked Greg Papa since he was the Raiders commentator. I think he knows ball. I think he knows ball a lot more than most broadcasters. And he's tapped in. You talk about being tapped in. I mean, he's like an extension of this, like, front. It's hard to, there's no one like Papa who exists, I don't think. Papa's such an OG. Like, he was right-hand man to Al Davis. Like, Papa's just, he's built different. So when Papa speaks, I listen. And I know you're probably not going to like what he has to say. But just because you don't like what he has to say doesn't mean he's discredited, which is what I see people doing. They're like, oh, this guy doesn't know ball. Like, Papa knows ball. But it is interesting kind of listening to what he's saying, because it's also, I don't think, the first.
If Brandon Allen is as impressive as they think he is, would the 49ers be open to trading Trey Lance at some point this offseason that Trey has improved? Do you have to wait a little while? Would you do that more before the deadline? Would you do it at all? The way quarterbacks get hurt around here, you got to be careful because you wind up playing 3 just about every year except for the Super Bowl year of 2019. So is Brandon Allen, is that the kind of guy you want to cut? And now that you're going to a third QB, emergency QB, if Trey's not one of your top 2, then you can't run the Bison personnel package where he comes in to run like he did, at the end of the first half in the home opener of his rookie year against Green Bay. Only time he could come into if he's QB3 behind Brock and Sam Darnold, then he's not up on game day, and unless it's an emergency, then you can't run Bison personnel with him. So, then Allen would be more of a guy you would develop and have as your third quarterback.
I mean, you don't have to agree with what he has to say. I know a lot of people aren't going to, but still, he's a guy for me that I'm like, "Ugh, I can't just I can't just take his opinion and throw it away. I just it's I personally have a lot of respect for Papa. And that's been built up over years. And even when he was, like I said, when he was the Raiders guy. So I have a ton of respect for Papa. So, and I know how connected he is to Kyle, to John, to all these guys. Like he's in there. So he's been a guy that's been touting Sam Darnold over Lance from the beginning. Now, now we're talking about Now we're talking about Brandon Allen over Lance. Ugh. I don't know, man. I know you guys like I think at least here at the SDS we are hopefully I know the OGs kind of feel the same way because we've talked about it a lot. Um Regardless of who you root for, who you want to succeed, regardless of any of that, it's just been a weird offseason around the quarterback. And I'd say less weird about Brock because the messaging about Brock has been pretty consistent. So we're just trying to figure out when Brock's timeline is. That's it. But other than that, the messaging's been consistent. Leader in the clubhouse. He's going to be the guy. He's going to be QB1. Been pretty consistent on that. But the messaging around Trey and Sam and the ongoing conversations, it's just and coming from people that like Papa, like you might not agree with what he has to say, you might not agree with his assessment, but he's saying it. So you don't have to take it for face value at face value, but take it with a grain of salt. It's interesting. It's interesting now that we're talking about Trey as quarterback 3 and potentially Brandon Allen as being an option. And we talked about this earlier in the week. You know, we were talking about the when we did that breakdown of them doing the play action boots and stuff. And I was like, ooh, Brandon Allen to me looks like the closest quarterback that we currently have to Brock Purdy. When you look at Brock, does all the small things correct, uh, technically, all that type of stuff. That's what Brandon Allen looks like. He looks like Brock in that sense. He's not going to be the physical guy like Sam or like Trey. He's not going to have the physical tools or any of that stuff. He's going to be the guy like Brock, who's going to be in his playbook. He's going to know exactly what to do and how to execute it. And I saw that today too. I saw Brandon Allen went 1 of 8 today. So definitely fall from grace from the Brandon Allen arc, but it's more so less about his production today in a minicamp practice and just more so about how the 49ers could potentially view this quarterback situation because we talked about this as well. Trey Lance is the only valuable quarterback that the 49ers really have that's not Brock Purdy. Sam Darnold, in my opinion, does not carry any value. I don't see any value for him because He's on a 1-year contract. The book's out on him. I think the 49ers also like him too much to trade him. I really do think they want to see what Sam has. And if they are kind of, because again, like, and this isn't Trey's fault at all. I don't think this is Trey's fault. I don't think this is Trey's fault in the slightest. But regardless of if it's his fault or not, it's becoming a distraction. It's becoming a situation that is becoming bigger than the team, if that makes sense, at least from an outside perspective. And how much does that outside perspective matter to the guys inside that building? I don't know. I would say it matters to the players when they're constantly being asked the same questions about these guys over and over and over again. So I don't know, man. There's a lot of variables at play. It's weird. It's definitely weird. And I don't want to get too far deep into it, but it just came up today again because it's what we are forced to talk about because we don't know what it is. And we're constantly having to deal with all these different scenarios and variables, and it's just exhausting. It's freaking exhausting. I know everyone's exhausted by it. Fans, media, players, coaches, front office, everyone is tired of talking about it. So do those conversations stop if something else happened? I don't know. I still think you need all those guys. I still think the 49ers would be best suited to go into camp go into the year with Trey, Brock, and Sam. If you could get Brandon Allen on your practice squad, then I think that's the best case scenario. 4 quarterbacks. Keep Brandon Allen on the practice squad. Use Trey, Darnold, and so the question becomes, do we have a special package for Lance if Brock Purdy is quarterback 1, kind of like with Jimmy Garoppolo? Oh, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Does Ronnie Bell make this team? Man, if I had to give you my honest opinion right now, I would say no. And that's not because he's not deserving of it or doesn't have the talent that is deserving of being on a roster. Again, I haven't seen him as much as some of these other guys that have been out there. But again, I'm paying attention to the numbers, and the numbers keep telling me that it feels like the 49ers are going to keep 5 wide receivers again. So for Ronnie to make the roster, he's got to beat out Ray. He's got to beat out Jawan. He's got to beat out Danny Gray, because I still think the 49ers are going to be keeping 5. So, and I mean, I saw this just a second ago. While we're off topic, Justin says Grant is hyping up Tay Martin in his latest video and said he's going to make the team this year. The 5 spots. They only have 5 spots. Like, I love Tay Martin. You guys know I've been on Tay Martin from the jump. But I don't see how Tay Martin makes the roster, because you only got 53 spots, 46 of those dress on game day. Is Tay, can you bring Tay back around to the practice squad? You probably can. So it's a numbers game at the end of the day. 8 O-linemen, 5 wide receivers, 4 tight ends, 4 running backs, 3 quarterbacks. There's not a ton of wiggle room. You know what I mean? Like, they keep, 10, 11 defensive linemen, probably 5, 6 cornerbacks, 4 safeties, 5 linebackers. I mean, the numbers add up quick. So I think it's going to be a very, very difficult battle. Like, I think this is the position where the 49ers would have to make that decision. The decision I think is going to come down to, does Braden Willis make the roster or does Ronnie Bell make the roster? I think that's the decision. I really think that's the decision. Howard says, why 4 tight ends? Because they carried 4 tight ends last year, and they run a lot more. They have been running more 2 tight end sets, and I think they want to continue to run 2 tight sets. So you draft Latu in the 3rd. You have Warner, who's a former 6th. You have Willis, who's a 7th, and I don't think Dwelly makes the team. I just think that's just where we're at. And I really, I mean, the 49ers made a concerted effort to keep a lot of tight ends on the roster last year. So that's where I think the decision comes down to. Do they carry Ronnie Bell or do they carry Braden Willis? Both of them 7th round draft picks. But what position would you say that the San Francisco 49ers kind of rely on more right now? Whether it's in the run game, you got Deebo Samuel, you got Brandon Ayuk. If Danny Gray's taking a step forward, we've been hearing good things about Danny Gray so far in minicamp. Again, Juwan Jennings, 3rd and Juwan. Juwan's in a contract year. So, I feel like the Ronnie Bell pick could be that one step ahead. Like, I don't know if the 49ers are going to be able to sign Juwan. I think Juwan will be able to get a decent payday, but I think it's one of those decent paydays where the 49ers are like, we can probably supplement this production elsewhere. Maybe that's what they're looking at Ronnie Bell as. Maybe Ronnie Bell doesn't make the roster this year, but Ronnie Bell sticks around on the practice squad and he makes it next year. Cut day is going to be hard, man. Cut day is going to be difficult for the 49ers because we talk about it all the time. And we talk about the depth that they have, and we prop up their depth. That also is going to be a concern when it comes down to cut down day because you're going to have to cut someone. You're going to have to cut someone good. And you're going to have to make tough decisions. So, a lot of tough decisions coming this offseason. That's why I can't wait till training camp. I honestly don't think Bell is necessarily there to push Danny Gray. I think a lot of people are just out on Danny Gray because he didn't produce as a rookie. But not a lot of receivers produce as a rookie. And you could probably say the same thing about Bell if he made the roster. Is Bell producing? Is Bell getting run? Is he getting snaps? So Bell's best shot, I think, might be special teams. If Bell can do it from a special teams perspective, and no way. Oh my goodness. This has absolutely nothing to do with the San Francisco 49ers, so please don't freak out. I apologize in advance if I just freaked you out for no reason. This has nothing to do with the San Francisco 49ers in the slightest. This is more of a personal thing. We've got a Brian Burns update. Brian Burns is going to be wearing the number 0. He's going from 53 to 0. I didn't have a Brian Burns update on my calendar today, but I apologize. I know it caught me off guard because you guys know I'm probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Brian Burns stan out there. I love Brian Burns. I want this guy on the roster, man. Probably never happened, but I don't know. I saw it. I was like, oh, he changed his number. Like everyone's like, I guarantee you, there's someone in the stream right now that is like, what just happened? I thought we were talking about 49ers, Ronnie Bell, Latu, Willis, and this dude's out here freaking out about Brian Burns changing to the number 0. I apologize. If you're that person, I apologize. I'm truly sorry. And I apologize to all you who know me well enough that I just scared you for no reason. I apologize. It was a natural reaction. That I didn't even mean to do it. It just happened. It just happened. This is very organic. Exactly. I'm sorry. It was an organic reaction. To me, it's a big deal in my world. You're lying. If that's true. First of all, shout out to you for buying the Brian Burns jersey. That kind of sucks. He just changed the number. But I'm not gonna lie, the OG 53, I didn't like it at first, but it kind of grew on me. I didn't like it at first, but it grew on me a little bit. But that's funny, man. That's funny. Okay. Big time squirrel. I apologize. I apologize to the chat. Apologize to anyone watching who's like, what the hell is this guy talking about? What else we want to talk about, man? So currently back to like the original conversation. I still have it at 4 tight ends because people I think I saw what Brian said. I think Latu and Willis beat out Dwelly and Warner. Although I think you could be right in regards to depth chart pecking order. The one thing that I do know is that they like Warner as a blocker. They do, even though he lost snaps last year to Croft. I do know that they like Warner as a blocker. So one of these guys, Braden or Willis, have to prove that they are better than Warner at blocking. And even so, the 49ers still kept 4 tight ends last year, or 4. Yeah, they kept 4 tight ends last year: Croft, Warner, Dwelly, and Kittle. But I think also a lot of that had to do with Kittle was hurt. Kittle was hurt to start the year. So maybe they were kind of forced to keep the 4, but they kept the 4 all year, and they stuck with 5 wide receivers all year. And they didn't use all 5 all that often. Like Ray didn't get a ton of run. Danny Gray didn't get a ton of run. So are they going to So the thing is if you have these guys on the practice squad, you can elevate 2 for game days. So the guys that they would elevate wide receivers. They would elevate Willie Snead and Tay Martin for special teams. So the thing is they have to decide if they think Ronnie Bell will get signed to a team's active roster. If they really think Bell will get signed to the team's active roster, that will obviously change the decisions that they make. Because, I mean, if you go back to last year, remember Tariq Castro Fields, the cornerback that was drafted out of Penn State? He was a 6th-round draft pick. They cut him, probably fully expecting him to slide back around to the practice squad. And that didn't happen. It didn't happen. The Commanders signed him to their active roster. So they got to make that decision. I think, And maybe Brian's right. Maybe they do. Maybe they do keep 2 rookie tight ends behind Kittle, but something tells me that with how complex their running game is, I don't know if they would love to keep 2 rookie tight ends. So, man, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting for sure. That cut down day is gonna be intense for the San Francisco 49ers because there's going to be some guys that get the axe that are deserving of being on a 53-man roster. It's going to happen at the linebacker position. It's going to happen on the defensive line. It's going to happen O line, running back. Like running back becomes a potential question. So it's going to be interesting, man. But I think again, one of the as we kind of wrapping up the practices and mini camp and all that type of stuff, I think one of the biggest takeaways is the 49ers are I like the depth. The depth to come out of this camp and what we've heard and what we've seen, it sounds like that we're in a really good spot. It sounds like the San Francisco 49ers have been able to address pretty much all the holes on their roster. They have an opportunity now to go into training camp, take this, 2-month period and assess, do they need to add more talent? Is there room to bring someone else in, or do they feel comfortable enough with where it currently stands? And as a result, they really don't do a whole bunch more. They just kind of stay tuned. They stand pat with the current 90-man roster. And Charlene says, we're so stacked, we got depth at kicker. 100%. We got depth at kicker. So we got guys all over the place. So it's gonna be interesting to see how ultimately all plays out. But so far, I feel like this camp has been a productive one. Again, no drama really to come out of it outside of the manufactured drama around the quarterback and stuff like that. But outside of the quarterback stuff, we got Trent back. The O line is intact. Spencer Burford's looking bigger. Tons of positive reports about Jordan Mason's progress and what he's putting together. I'm feeling pretty good. I don't know about you guys. How are you feeling? Is there anything alarming to come out from this minicamp OTA period that is concerning to you? If so, let me know in the chat. But it sounds like Trey's made improvements. We'll see what Sam is really looking like. T-Dub says, I see Elijah Mitchell being traded. Sucks because he is my guy. Yeah, obviously you don't want to see this early on. I would say that would have been something that you really wanted to see. You'd really want to see Elijah make it through OTAs and minicamp. And the fact that, he's kind of off to the side. Again, all it does is just open up more opportunities for guys like JP Mason to come in and take that job. And you can lose a job to injury. It's just how it works. You got to be available. You got to be on the field. If you're not, someone's going to take that job from you. And it'll be interesting. Oh, yeah, this is what I want to talk about. Jacor Pearson got a second tryout with the San Francisco 49ers. So we'll see. We'll see if that translates into him getting signed. Uh, I'm surprised they didn't sign him after the first tryout that he had as a rookie minicamp, but they brought him back, which I guess is a good sign. Something to keep in mind is, are they going to carry 2 kickers throughout training camp? Is the 2 kicker situation going to continue in training camp? Are they going to be like, all right, this was all fun and games, but Moody's our guy. We saw enough in OTAs. We're gonna let Zane go and give that roster spot to someone like Jacor Pearson. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But overall, impressed with what we were able to get out of this camp. Again, one of the biggest thing for me, no major injuries. No major injuries. Knock on wood to come out of this. So that is huge. Everyone seems to be in the right mindset. Debo's in the right mindset. Ayuk's in the right mindset. Brock Purdy is on track. Nick Bosa is going to get paid. Javon Hargrave is looking huge. Drake Jackson is looking huge. Jair Brown making plays. Burford looking huge, looking like a different guy out there. So really, not hearing any of those Dante Pettis reports, right? Not hearing anything like that where this guy is just sucking wind out there. So that is a good sign, step in the right direction, right? As always. So we will continue to see. Justin says, I want to know who makes the roster at linebacker. Seems like a few could get cut, and I think Marcelino McCrary-Ball makes it. I do think Marcelino McCrary-Ball makes it. I think it's tough, man, because I know the 49ers love DFF. I know, to me, Oren Burks has a spot. I think Oren Burks has a spot based on what he did last year for the 49ers, special teams, and in spot duty when Aziz was hurt. I think they trust Oren. I think Oren is going to be a guy who can definitely fill that role. But Marcelino feels like a guy who's taken that jump. And DFF, they brought him back on a 1 year. So are they going to trade any of these guys? Are they going to move another linebacker like they did with Jonas Griffith? It's going to be interesting. But again, Marcelino McCrary-Ball, undrafted free agent. DFF, undrafted free agent. They're both competing against drafted guys. They're going against Winters was taken in the 5th round, right? I'm pretty sure Winters was taken in the 5th round. Also, Jalen Graham taken in the 7th round. So you got 2 undrafted guys going against. Excuse me, Winters was 6th round. Winters was a 6th rounder. Beal was the 5th rounder. Luter and Beal were the 5th rounders. Winters was the 6th rounder. So, but the point is that they are competing against drafted guys. So there is some draft capital investment put into them. So gonna have to ball, baby. We'll see. We'll see who steps up. Who's it gonna be? I don't know. From the sounds of it, again, sounds like Brandon Ayuk again. Sounds like Brandon Ayuk doing Brandon Ayuk things. Again, last year, training camp, Brandon Ayuk was the best player on the field day in and day out for the most part. Obviously no Bosa, no pad. So offensive D line, offensive versus defensive line is going to be skewed. But sounds like Brandon Ayuk is that guy again. So Brandon Ayuk stonks to the moon right now. Really excited for that. So got good stuff. Got good stuff all the way around. And, you guarantee we're going to figure out stuff to talk about with 49ers football from here on out. So make sure, stay tuned to the channel. Appreciate you guys as always. Super excited for training camp. Cannot wait to get back around football. I think that's just what I'm most excited about. Let's get my eyes on it. Get back out there, smell that grass, watch those boys in pads, hear the pads popping, do some breakdowns, all that stuff. That's what I'm excited for. So that will be coming up in a couple months. Until then, we'll be locked in. I think we're going to bring the film breakdowns back. And again, not just quarterback focused. We'll do I'll do some more defense, I think, this off season, because I do primarily offense in the regular season. So maybe we do some defense. We do all that kind of stuff. But I appreciate you guys, man. Grab your cookies on the way out for staying the whole way through. We made it through the first portion of the 2023 season. OTAs, rookie mini camps are in the books. Brock Purdy's progressing well. Trey Lance, Sam Darnold battling it out. We got kicker battles. We got all kinds of battles. Looking forward to it all, man. You best believe it. We're going to figure out something to talk about. There's going to be times when we're going to be struggling, and I'm actually going to need to rely on you guys for questions, comments, whatever. Content ideas. We're going to get through this together. I think that's the key factor here heading into the dead period is we got to be in the dead period together. We got to be fiending for 49ers football together to help us make the time go by faster, so that when it gets to training camp, we're locked in, we're ready to go. I got some stuff cooking up right now. I'm not going to divulge exactly what it is, but got some stuff cooking up. Excited to see what comes of it, but stay tuned. We're going to have some stuff cooking this off season, and you already know we're going to figure something out. But appreciate you guys as always. Y'all the on the channel, and I'll see you guys on the other side. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it.